Hey everyone, just wanted to welcome you guys and share with you another training tip. This training tip I really want to talk about operant conditioning. Now, as most of you know, the UCS group, if you're interested and you're involved in creating unconventional warriors, you have to be invested in doing the operant conditioning. Now let me just go through some of the basics with you guys for operant conditioning. For those that don't understand, it's scenario training. It's the live fire type training that any real world organization, they're going to put their clients and their members through this. Simply put, it is a stimulus response. It is the catalyst that takes all of your training and helps you really convert it into real world functional skill. We're big believers that whatever you're training somebody in, so you got the physical, you've got the mental, you've got the physiological components to it, you have to be putting them in real world environments, okay? You cannot just work the physical in your kind of sterilized training environments. No matter how uncooperative your opponent is or your training partner is, no matter how realistic it is on that front, you have to be learning to inoculate yourself against all of the multitude of stressors that you're going to encounter in a real street environment. So just let's be real clear with it again. You have what we call mission demands. And the mission demands can be very specific in terms of whether you're engaged with somebody one-on-one, two-on-one, whether they have a knife, a gun, a firearm of any type. Multitude of different environments. You could be in a road rage situation, you could be out at a club or a night pub or a hockey game. And the problem is that you have such different environmental demands, and that can be a stressor. You can be in close quarter proximity, you can be on uneven terrain, you can be in staircases, you could be in elevators. You could be in your car fighting from the front seat or in the back seat or whatever it is. You can be just in between two vehicles. The point is that with all of these different environmental situations that you can find yourself in, let's add in on top of that the different lighting conditions, the different auditory cues that you're hitting. Really what we want to get at with the scenario training is take the physical, the mental, and the physiological aspects of any type of our game plan, and we want to put them and expose them to all of the different toxic, corrosive, and septic stressors that add to these situations. So just, for an example, you're in right now the UCS Group's training center, and what we do is we convert our training center into a three-dimensional environment that we can control. So if you just look around the room, obviously we can add in doorways. So move around, we have different adjacent rooms that we can set up and design as a bathroom. We have different egress points and entrance points. You have blind spots, you lose line of sight, you can't see through the walls. We have alleyways set up. You can set up phone booths and elevators and all types of different environments. And we're going to cover in some of our other videos, we're going to share with you guys what the training looks like and how we go from a little bit more of a sterile environment, and then how we slowly progress our clients and our members through to a full three-dimensional live fire scenario. It's just that stimulus and response. And what I want to share with you is just some of the stressors that we can add in on top of everything that's going on. So we're just going to kind of go through a few things. So the first thing we're going to do is just go from what you see as a nice bright environment. Okay, and normally, again, right now the flooring is just a normal concrete floor. You can easily add water to the floor. We add sand and gravel to the floor, and that of course changes the different footing that you have to experience. You have the chairs and the tables. And just imagine if you fill this with the role players. So you have warriors coming into this, and you have them coming through one at a time. They have an unknown situation with an unknown number of participants and role players. And so you have already a dynamic, moving, three-dimensional environment. Then, of course, what we can do, and this is what we're talking about when it comes to stressors, is we can just drop, with the switch of a button, drop a half bank of lights. And now, again, right now, not a huge difference for you, but you notice how it just makes one part of the room darker than another part of the room, and it forces the perceptions to change. And of course, when you're trying to go through and identify different, threat cues, pre-contact threat cues, you're trying to identify the palm of somebody's hands, and imagine with just multitude of people moving around in here. And of course, from a half bank of lights, what we're going to do for the camera is we'll switch you over to a night shot. It's going to make things a different color and a little grainy for you, but then you're going to be able to kind of see what it's like in the full, when we add in the full different lighting effects. So now we're going to cut the other half bank of lights and go to a blue light. Probably can't really tell the color here, but we go from a blue light. We also have red lights. You can change different lighting to create different moods. And now again, imagine just people moving around in here, and I'm sure just with the camera, with the night vision, it makes things a little brighter than what it actually is. but trying to identify a threat in somebody's hand, trying to see the different body language, the subtle cues and the kinesiology just of somebody's, whether they're staring at you and just the lips being pierced, seeing the different color tones in their face. All of that becomes extremely hard all of a sudden. And of course, if these stressors are making things harder, they're having a physiological effect on our bodies. They're taking our SNS, the sympathetic nervous system, and they're driving that up. So we have that condition red, which is our optimum for performance. And what happens is the second you have another stressor drop in, so all of a sudden you go to a low light situation or almost a no light situation, you're going to feel an increase in your stress. That's going to have a physiological effect on your body. It's also going to have a physical effect on your performance. If you're not inoculated against that, if you haven't trained in that, that is going to affect you and pull you out of your peak performance. Okay, so just a couple other stressors that we can drop in just for a quick example. We can go from a blue light or a red light, and we can obviously go to a strobe type situation. So we kill the other light, and now you're in a strobe situation. So the rest of the room got really dark. You have definite blind spots. You have a strobe situation going on, so you're only having sporadic lines of sight, just visual problems. Again, switching through the doorways, different people moving, casting different shadows. On top of just adding in things that are affecting the visual sense, so that type of a stressor, we also want to be able to bring in a lot of the auditory. You want to combine stressors. One of the key rules with this is that it's not typically one stressor that'll kill you. It's when stressors start to combine, it starts to create this negative cascading effect. So you're not going to be able to hear me for a few seconds. We have a multitude of different auditory stressors that we can put into play, but I just want you to kind of hear, just one type and just see how it dynamically changes the environment. So we'll drop in an auditory stressor now. So now you see that even communication becomes a lot harder. Okay, so whether you heard me trying to yell over that or you didn't hear me, if you're in a situation where you're in a scenario and you start perceiving your pre-contact threat cues, everything can be going really, really well. But of course, if all of a sudden the light changes on you, the auditory changes on you, you're having difficulty even hearing people, seeing the different threat cues, identifying the palms of the hands, watching their kinesiology, watching the physical appearance of the body, listening for the interpersonal communication breakdown. All of those things become much, much harder. And now we're just going to go back to a regular environment. So again, just hit a button and we put the lights back on, we kick out of night shot, and we're back to a different type of environment. So again, you have to have three-dimensional environments. You have to have the ability to change your environment, to change your tables, to create different ones, to make bathroom scenes, to make elevators, to recreate a parking lot, a parkade. We have road rage cars that we use, live functioning cars that you can drive, start, get in, get out of, back up, run into, jump in, jump out of. You got to be able to change the environment. You got to be able to drop in the other stressors. It's all part of inoculating and bulletproofing your overall combat survival program. And really, that's just the things I wanted to share with you for this training tip. So, hope everybody enjoyed it. I hope that your training is realistic and dynamic. I hope you've experienced operant conditioning with it. And until next time, take care and come what may.